Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon, watching the stars through the large window. His ship was flying through space near a planet called Kepler 442. The crew had been working for 3 weeks, looking for valuable metals and minerals on different worlds. It was routine work, but Jake liked the quiet of deep space. "Captain, we're getting something strange on the scanners," said Lieutenant Ben Parker from his station. Ben was young but smart, and Jake trusted his judgment about unusual readings. Walked over to look at the screen. Strange lights were blinking in patterns he had never seen before. "What kind of reading is that?" "I'm not sure, sir. It's coming from the planet's surface. The signal is very strong, but it doesn't match anything in our computer files." Dr. Lisa Chun looked up from her workstation. She was the ship's expert on alien life forms. "Captain, may I take a look at those readings?" Jake nodded. Lisa was one of the best scientists he had ever worked with. If anyone could figure out what they were seeing, it would be her. Lisa studied the data for several minutes. Her face grew more serious as she worked. "This is incredible. The signal has patterns that suggest intelligence. Someone or something is trying to communicate." "Could it be another human ship?" asked Jake. "No, sir. The frequency is completely different from anything we use. This is definitely alien." The bridge became quiet. In all their years of space travel, humans had found many planets with simple life forms like plants and small animals. But they had never found intelligent aliens. Before Communications Officer Amy Foster spoke up, "Captain, the signal is getting stronger. Whatever is sending it seems to be in distress." Jake made his decision quickly. "Set course for the planet. Ben, prepare a landing team. Lisa, I want you to study that signal during our approach." "Yes, sir," they both replied. The New Horizon changed direction and headed toward the planet below. As they got closer, Jake could see it was a harsh world. Thick orange clouds covered most of the surface. Through breaks in the clouds, he could see tall crystal mountains and deep valleys. "The atmosphere is mostly methane with some oxygen," reported Ben. "We'll need full environmental suits to survive down there." Lisa was still working on the signal. "Captain, I've made progress with the translation. The message is definitely a call for help. Someone is asking for assistance with something they call the young ones." "The young ones?" Jake asked. "That's the best translation I can get. It could mean children or offspring of some kind." Jake felt a chill. If there were alien children in danger, he couldn't ignore the call for help. "Ben, select your best people for the landing team. Lisa, you're coming with us. We need to understand what we're dealing with." 20 minutes later, Jake and his team were ready to leave the ship. The landing team included Ben Parker, Dr. Lisa Chun, engineer Kate Sullivan, and security specialist Luke Adams. They wore heavy suits to protect them from the dangerous atmosphere. Their shuttle landed in a rocky area near the source of the signal. The wind was strong, and orange dust swirled around them as they walked across the surface. In the distance, Jake could see the entrance to a large cave system. "The signal is coming from inside those caves," said Lisa, checking her equipment out. As they approached the cave entrance, Jake noticed strange marks on the rocks. They looked like scratch marks, but they were huge. Whatever made them was much larger than any human. "Stay alert, everyone," said Luke, holding his weapon ready. They entered the cave and turned on their lights. The cave was enormous, with walls that stretched high above them. The floor was covered with smooth stones that glowed with a soft blue light. "These aren't ordinary rocks," said Kate, kneeling to examine them. "They're some kind of crystal formation. I've never seen anything like this." They walked deeper into the cave, following the signal. The air grew warmer, and Jake could hear something moving in the darkness ahead. Suddenly, a massive shape emerged from the shadows. Jake's heart stopped. as he saw what stood before them. It was a dragon. The creature was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Its scales were deep blue with silver edges that caught the light from their equipment. It was as tall as a building and twice as long. Its eyes were intelligent and sad. "Nobody move," whispered Jake. "Lisa, can you try to communicate?" Lisa slowly activated her translation device. The dragon watched them carefully, but did not attack. After a moment, the device began to work. "I am Zara," the dragon said in a voice that sounded like music and thunder together. "I have been calling for help, but I did not expect creatures like you to answer." "We're humans," said Jake, trying to keep his voice steady. "We received your signal and came to help. You said something about young ones?" Zara's great head lowered with sadness. "My children. All of our children. They are dying, and I cannot save them." She led them deeper into the cave to a large chamber. Jake gasped at what he saw. Hundreds of large eggs were scattered around the chamber, but something was wrong with them. Many of the eggs had turned gray and hard like stone. "The sickness came from the sky many seasons ago," Zara explained. "It attacks our eggs before our young can hatch. I have tried everything. Fire, ice, moving them to different places. Nothing works. Each day, more eggs turn to stone." Lisa was scanning the eggs with her equipment. "Captain, these eggs are being attacked by some kind of parasite. It's turning the organic material into mineral deposits. Can you help them?" asked Zara. "I am the last of my kind on this world. If these eggs die, the dragons of Dracarys Prime will be no more." Jake looked at the dying eggs, and then at Zara's hopeful eyes. He thought about all the times humans had faced impossible problems and found solutions. "We'll try," he said firmly. "We'll do everything we can to save your children." Zara's eyes brightened for the first time since they had met her. "You would do this for creatures you do not know?" "That's what humans do," said Jake. "We help others, no matter who they are or where they come from." Lisa was already taking samples and making notes. "I'll need to study this parasite carefully. Kate, can you help me set up a temporary lab?" "Of course," said Kate. "Luke, we'll need to secure this area and establish a communication link with the ship." As the team began their work, Jake looked around the cave chamber. He thought about the impossible task ahead of them. They were just a small crew on a research ship, and they were trying to save an entire alien species from extinction. But Jake had faith in his team and in human determination. Throughout history, humans had never given up when others needed help. They had climbed the highest mountains, crossed the deepest oceans, and reached for the stars. Now they would do whatever it took to save these dragon children. The real work was just beginning, but Jake Morrison and his crew were ready for the challenge. They had found something incredible in the depths of space, and they would not let it die on their watch. Zara watched the small humans working with their strange devices and felt something she had not felt in a long time. Hope. Perhaps these creatures, so different from her own kind, might be the answer to her prayers. Perhaps they really could save her young. Dr. Lisa Chun worked through the night in the temporary laboratory they had set up near the dragon eggs. Her equipment hummed quietly as it analyzed samples of the strange parasite. Kate Sullivan helped her connect cables and adjust machines, while Captain Jake Morrison watched from nearby. "What have you found so far?" asked Jake. Lisa looked up from her microscope with tired eyes. "This parasite is unlike anything I've ever seen. It's not really alive in the way we understand life. It's more like a self-replicating crystal that feeds on organic minerals." "Can you kill it?" asked Kate. "That's the problem. Normal medicine won't work because it's not truly biological. And we can't use heat or cold because that might hurt the baby dragons inside the eggs." Zara moved closer to listen. The great dragon had been patient while the humans worked, but Lisa could see the worry in her ancient eyes. "Tell me about your species," said Lisa to Zara. "How long do your eggs normally take to hatch?" "Under normal conditions, our young develop for 2 full cycles of our moon. That is about 60 of your days," Zara replied. "But the sickness makes them grow hard in half that time. So we have maybe 30 days to find a solution," said Jake. "Less," said Zara sadly. "Some eggs are already far gone. The youngest ones might have 20 days at most." Lisa felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. An entire species was depending on her to find an answer. Meanwhile, back on the New Horizon, other crew members were working on different parts of the problem. Communications Officer Amy Foster was trying to learn more about dragon language and culture. She sat with pilot Danny O'Connor in the ship's communication room, surrounded by translation equipment. "Listen to this," said Amy, playing a recording of Zara's voice. "The dragons don't just talk with sounds. They also use something like telepathy to share emotions and images. That explains why our translator has trouble with some words," said Danny. "They're not just speaking, they're feeling the words too." Amy nodded. "I think if we can understand their emotional communication, we might learn more about how to help them." Down in the engine room, Chief Engineer Ryan Walsh was studying the Dragon Cave system with his team. Mechanic Tony Mitchell pointed to readings on his scanner. "The whole cave structure is connected underground," said Tony. "These crystals that glow on the walls, they're all linked together like a huge network." "What does that mean?" asked Ryan. "I think the dragons built this place specially for raising their young. The crystals provide heat and light that the eggs need to develop properly." Dr. Alex Rodriguez, the ship's plant specialist, was examining the crystal formations more closely. "These aren't just decorations," he said. "They're alive in their own way. They respond to the dragon's presence and create the perfect environment for the eggs." Back in the egg chamber, Lisa was making another discovery. She had been watching how the parasites spread from egg to egg, and she noticed a pattern. "Jake, come look at this," she called. Jake walked over to where Lisa was kneeling beside one of the infected eggs. "What is it?" "The parasite isn't native to this planet. Look at these mineral traces. They match elements that are common in asteroid mining operations." "Asteroid mining?" asked Kate. "Yes. I think some other alien species was strip mining this system long ago. They left this parasite behind, probably by accident." Zara lifted her great head. "The Void Seekers. They came here many generations ago. They took our sacred crystals and left poison in their place." "The Void Seekers?" asked Jake. "A race that moves from world to world, taking what they want and leaving destruction behind. We fought them, but they were too many. When they finally left, we thought we were safe." Lisa continued her analysis. "The parasite feeds on the same minerals that dragon eggs need to develop. It's like it was designed to attack your species specifically. Or it evolved to fill that niche after being exposed to dragon biology for so long," added Dr. Rodriguez. Amy Foster's voice came through. "They're radio communicators. Captain, I'm getting some interesting readings from orbit. There are more dragon caves on other parts of the planet, and they're all sending out distress signals." Jake felt his heart sink. "How many more?" "At least 12 other locations." "And, sir, some of the signals are getting weaker." Jake knew what that meant. More dragon eggs were dying while they struggled to find a solution. "Zara, are there other dragons like you at those locations?" He asked. Double quotes, "Yes. My sisters and brothers guard the last egg chambers across our world. But we are few now, and the sickness spreads faster than we can fight it." Lisa stood up and brushed dust from her knees. "I need to examine eggs from different locations. Maybe the parasite affects them differently in different environments. That's dangerous, said Luke. Adams, the security officer. We don't know what other threats might be out there. I'll go with small teams to each location, said Jake. We need that information if we're going to save these eggs. Over the next few days, Jake divided his crew into teams that visited different dragon caves across the planet. Each location told the same sad story. Ancient dragons guarding dying eggs, fighting a battle they couldn't win. At the fourth cave they visited, they met an older dragon named Draven. His scales were silver with age, and his voice was deep with wisdom. You are the small warm ones that Zara spoke of, he said when they arrived. She sent word through the old paths that you might be able to help us. We're trying, said Jake, but we need to understand more about this parasite. Draven led them to his egg chamber, where the situation was even worse than at Zara's cave. Most of the eggs had already turned to stone. The sickness came to us first, explained Draven. We tried moving the eggs to the deepest chambers, where the sacred crystals burned brightest. It slowed the change, but did not stop it. Lisa took more samples while Dr. Rodriguez studied the crystal formations. These crystals are different from the ones at Zara's cave, he noted. They have a higher concentration of rare earth elements. And the parasite here has adapted to those elements, added Lisa. It's mutating as it spreads to different environments. This was both good news and bad news. The parasite's ability to change meant it was becoming more dangerous, but it also meant there might be weaknesses they could exploit. Back at their base camp, Lisa worked late into the night, combining data from all the locations they had visited. Kate helped her run computer simulations, while Amy continued studying dragon communication patterns. I think I'm starting to understand how the parasite works, said Lisa finally. It doesn't just eat the minerals in the eggs. It changes their molecular structure to create more of itself. Like a virus, but with crystals instead of cells, said Kate. Exactly. And because it's partly crystalline, it might be vulnerable to certain types of electromagnetic radiation. Jake felt a spark of hope. What kind of radiation? That's what I need to figure out. But Jake, even if we find the right frequency, we'll need a lot of power to treat all these eggs. More power than our ship can generate. Jake looked around at his tired crew. They had been working non-stop for days, traveling across a dangerous planet to gather information. Now they were close to a breakthrough, but they needed resources they didn't have. Then we'll have to be creative, he said. We've come this far. We're not giving up now. Zara had been listening to their conversation. What do you need? She asked. Power, lots of it, and a way to focus electromagnetic energy precisely enough to kill the parasite without hurting your children. Zara's eyes began to glow brighter. The sacred crystals. They store and focus energy. We use them to warm our eggs and light our caves. Lisa and Kate looked at each other with growing excitement. Could we use the crystal network to amplify our equipment? Asked Kate. If we can figure out how to interface our technology with dragon crystals, said Lisa, we might just have a chance. For the first time since arriving on the planet, Jake allowed himself to feel truly hopeful. They had found the enemy, and now they might have found a way to fight it. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the main egg chamber, watching his crew prepare for the most dangerous mission of their lives. Dr. Lisa Chun had spent 3 days figuring out how to connect human technology with dragon crystals. Now they were ready to test their theory. The crystal network can store enough energy to power our electromagnetic treatment, Lisa explained to the assembled team. But someone has to go deep into the cave system to place the focusing devices at key points. Kate Sullivan looked at the map they had drawn of the underground tunnels. These passages go down for miles. Some of them are barely wide enough for a person to crawl through, and they're filled with parasite spores, added Dr. Rodriguez. The concentration gets higher the deeper you go. Jake studied the faces of his crew. Every person was volunteering for a mission that could kill them. We'll need a small team. The fewer people we risk, the better. I'm going, said Lisa immediately. I'm the only one who understands the equipment well enough to place it correctly. I'm going too, said Kate. If the focusing devices break, down there, you'll need an engineer to fix them. Security Officer Luke Adams stepped forward. You'll need protection. I'm coming with you. Jake wanted to argue, but he knew they were right. Fine, but we do this carefully. One mistake and we lose everything. Meanwhile, back on the New Horizon, Chief Engineer Ryan Walsh was working on a different problem. The ship's power systems weren't designed to channel energy through alien crystals. We need to modify the main reactor output, Ryan explained to his assistant Tony Mitchell. The Dragon's crystals work on frequencies we've never used before. What if we overload the system? Asked Tony. Then we'll lose power and have no way to help the dragons, said Ryan grimly. But if we don't try, the eggs will die anyway. They worked through the night, rewiring circuits and adjusting power flows. The ship's computer kept warning them about dangerous energy levels, but Ryan ignored the alerts down in the caves. Pilot Danny O'Connor was learning to work with the dragons in a new way. Amy Foster had discovered that the dragons could communicate directly with the crystal network using their minds. Show me how you control the crystals. Danny asked Zeradot. The great dragon placed one clawed hand on a glowing crystal formation. Immediately, the entire chamber filled with warm, gentle light. We think of what we need, and the crystals respond, Zara explained. They have been our partners for thousands of years. Could you help us focus the energy where we need it? Asked Amy. If you can show us what you want, we can guide the crystals to help you. This was the breakthrough they needed. The dragons could control their crystal network with precision that human technology couldn't match. Dr. Lisa Chon prepared for the descent into the deepest caves. She wore a specially modified environmental suit that could filter out parasite spores. Her equipment pack contained the focusing devices that would either save the dragon eggs or fail completely. Remember, she told Kate and Luke, we have to place these devices at exactly the right positions. If even one is wrong, the energy burst could destroy the eggs instead of saving them. The three humans began their dangerous journey into the depths of the planet. The caves grew darker and more twisted as they descended. Strange sounds echoed from the walls, and the air grew thick with toxic spores. Spore concentration is increasing, reported Luke, checking his scanner. Our suits are holding, but we can't stay down here too long. They reached the first placement point after 2 hours of careful climbing. Lisa connected her device to a cluster of crystals that pulsed with sick gray light. The parasite infection was so strong here that it was changing the crystals themselves. This is worse than I thought, said Lisa. The parasite isn't just attacking the eggs. It's taking over the entire crystal network. Can we still use the crystals to fight it? Asked Kate. I think so. But we'll need more power than we originally planned. They continued deeper, placing focusing devices at 3 more locations. Each spot was more dangerous than the last. The walls were covered with crystalline growths that looked like frozen spider webs. These were pure parasite formations, spreading through the cave system like a disease dot at the deepest point. They found something that made them all stop in horror. An entire chamber full of dragon eggs had been completely taken over by the parasite. The eggs were no longer gray stone. They had become perfect crystal sculptures, beautiful and completely dead. How long ago did this happen? Whispered Kate. Based on the crystal growth patterns, maybe 50 years, said Lisa. This shows us what will happen to all the eggs if we fail. They placed the final focusing device and began their climb back to the surface. But as they ascended, Luke's scanner began beeping frantically. "The parasite is reacting to our equipment," he said. "It's starting to spread faster." The cave walls around them began to change. Gray crystals erupted from the rock, growing toward them like reaching fingers. The parasite had detected the threat and was fighting back. "Run!" shouted Lisa. They climbed as fast as they could, but the parasite growth was faster. Crystal spikes shot out from the walls, trying to trap them. Luke used his plasma cutter to clear a path, but more crystals grew to replace the ones he destroyed. "The suits are losing integrity," warned Kate. "The crystal growth is creating microscopic tears in the fabric." They reached the main chamber just as their environmental suits began to fail. Zara was waiting for them, along with several other dragons who had arrived during their absence. "The deep sickness fights back," said an elderly dragon named Lyra. "It knows you are trying to destroy it." "Then we need to act fast," said Jake. "Ryan, are the power modifications ready?" Ryan's voice came through the radio from the ship. "Ready as they'll ever be, Captain. But I have to warn you, we're pushing the reactor beyond safe limits." "Do it," said Jake. Lisa activated the focusing devices they had placed throughout the cave system. The crystals began to glow brighter, resonating with frequencies that human ears couldn't hear, but that made the dragons hum with harmony. "Now, Zara," said Lisa, "guide the energy to the infected eggs." Zara and the other dragons placed their claws on the main crystal formations. Their minds linked with the ancient network, directing the electromagnetic energy with precision that no human technology could achieve. The chamber filled with brilliant light. The energy flowed through the crystals, creating patterns of power that danced across the walls. Where the energy touched the infected eggs, the gray stone began to crack and fall away. But something was wrong. The parasite wasn't just dying. It was fighting back with everything it had. The crystal network began to overload, and dangerous energy surges threatened to destroy the entire cave system. "The power levels are too high," shouted Kate over the noise. "The crystals can't handle this much energy." "We have to keep going," said Lisa. "If we stop now, the parasite will adapt and become immune to our treatment." On the ship, Ryan watched his instruments with growing alarm. "Captain, the reactor is at 120% capacity. If we push it any harder, we could have a core breach." Jake looked at the eggs around him. Some were already beginning to change back to their natural color, but others were still gray with infection. They were so close to success, but the risk was enormous. "Hold the power steady," he ordered. "Whatever happens, we finish this." The dragons sang in harmony, their voices blending with the crystal resonance. The energy flowed through the network, like liquid light, seeking out every trace of the parasite. The infected eggs began to glow with their own inner light as the baby dragons inside them stirred to life. But in the deepest caves, something else was stirring too. The parasite had one final defense, and it was about to unleash it on the humans, who dared to challenge its dominion over the dragon eggs. The real battle was just beginning. The cave system shook violently as the parasite fought against the electromagnetic treatment. Captain Jake Morrison grabbed onto a crystal formation to keep from falling as rocks tumbled from the ceiling above. "What's happening?" he shouted over the noise. Dr. Lisa Chun checked her instruments with shaking hands. "The parasite is using the crystal network against us. It's learned to channel energy just like the dragons do." Suddenly, jagged crystal spikes erupted from the floor around them. These weren't the gentle, glowing crystals that the dragons used. These were sharp, angry formations that pulsed with sick yellow light. "Everyone stay together," called Luke Adams, drawing his plasma cutter. "Don't touch the yellow crystals. They're pure parasite." On the new horizon, Chief Engineer Ryan Walsh watched his control panels with growing panic. The ship's reactor was being drained faster than it could produce power. "Captain, something is pulling energy directly from our reactor," Ryan reported through the radio. "It's like the parasite is feeding on our power source." "Can you stop it?" asked Jake. "I'm trying, but if this keeps up, we'll lose all ships. Power in 15 minutes. Down in the cave, the dragons were struggling too. Zara and her companions were still connected to the crystal network, trying to guide the healing energy to the eggs. But the parasite was fighting their control. "The deep sickness learns quickly," said the old dragon Lyra through gritted teeth. "It copies our methods and uses them for evil." Dr. Rodriguez noticed something important. "Look at the eggs," he said. "Some of them are completely healed, but others are getting worse." Lisa realized what was happening. The parasite is retreating. From the eggs it can't save and concentrating its power in the ones it can still control. This was both good news and terrible news. They were saving some of the dragon babies, but the parasite was becoming stronger and more focused in its remaining targets. Kate Sullivan worked frantically on her portable computer. "If I can reprogram the focusing devices, maybe we can target the concentrated parasite directly." "Do it," said Jake. "But hurry. We're running out of time." The cave shook again, and this time part of the ceiling collapsed. A huge boulder crashed down near the main cluster of eggs, sending everyone scrambling for cover. "The structural integrity is failing," warned Luke. "This whole chamber could come down on us." Amy Foster's voice came through their radios from the ship. "Captain, I'm picking up new signals from across the planet. The other dragon caves are under attack too." Jake felt his heart sink. The parasite wasn't just fighting them here. It was launching a coordinated assault on all the remaining dragon eggs at once. "Zara, can you contact the other dragons?" he asked. The great dragon's eyes were closed in concentration, but she managed to answer. "I feel their pain. My brothers and sisters fight the same battle we fight here. Some are winning, but others are losing. We need to finish this quickly." "And help them," said Lisa. She was typing commands into her control device, trying to modify the electromagnetic frequency. "Kate, have you found a way to target the concentrated parasite?" "Almost," Kate replied, her fingers flying over her keyboard. "But we'll need even more power. Much more." Ryan's voice crackled through the radio. "I can give you more power, but it means shutting down life support and artificial gravity. We'll have maybe 10 minutes before the crew starts to suffocate." Jake looked around at his team. They were exhausted, injured, and running out of options. But none of them suggested giving up. "Do it, Ryan," Jake ordered. 10 minutes should be enough." The lights in the cave grew brighter as the ship's full power flowed into the crystal network. The dragons sang louder, their voices harmonizing with the energy flowing through the ancient crystals. But the parasite fought back harder than ever. The yellow crystal spikes grew longer and sharper, reaching toward the humans like grasping claws. The air filled with toxic spores that made their environmental suits spark and smoke. "Suits are failing," warned Luke. "We're going to be breathing poison soon." "Almost got it," said Kate, still working on her computer. "Just need another minute." That's when disaster struck. A massive crystal spike erupted from the ground directly under Lisa's feet. She jumped aside, but her equipment pack caught on. The sharp edge. The pack tore open, spilling her scientific instruments across the cave floor. The control device. Lisa shouted, "I need it to coordinate the treatment." The device had slid across the smooth floor and was now sitting right next to a cluster of venomous yellow crystals. Anyone who tried to reach it would be exposed to concentrated parasite toxins. "I'll get it," said Jake, stepping forward. "Captain, no," said Luke. "The toxin concentration there will kill you in seconds." Jake looked at the device and at the dragon eggs around them. Many were now glowing with healthy light, but others were still gray with infection. If they stopped the treatment now, those babies would die. Zara, he said to the dragon, if I don't make it, can you and your people continue the treatment without us? We cannot work the human devices, Zara replied sadly. We need you, small brave one. Jake took a deep breath and sprinted toward the device. As soon as he got close to the yellow crystals, his suit alarms began screaming. The toxins were eating through his protective gear like acid. He grabbed the control device and threw it back to Lisa, but the effort cost him. The parasite toxins had found weak spots in his suit, and poisonous gas was seeping in. Jake! Lisa caught the device and immediately began entering new commands. Kate, send me those targeting coordinates now. Kate finished her calculations and transmitted the data, targeting the parasite concentration points. Lisa, you need to activate the pulse in 3 seconds. Activating now, said Lisa, pressing the final sequence of buttons. The cave exploded with light. Every crystal in the network flashed at once, sending a coordinated electromagnetic pulse through the entire system. The yellow parasite crystals began to crack and dissolve, releasing clouds of harmless dust. The infected dragon eggs began to change. The gray stone covering cracked and fell away, revealing healthy shells underneath. Inside the eggs, the baby dragons stirred and moved, showing signs of life for the first time in months. But Jake was down. The parasite toxins had overwhelmed his suit's filters, and he was unconscious on the cave floor. Get him back to the ship, ordered Luke, lifting Jake in his arms. He needs medical attention immediately. Wait, said Zara. There is another way. The great dragon moved closer and breathed gently on Jake's still form. Her breath wasn't fire, but a warm, glowing mist that seemed to drive the toxins from his body. Dragon breath can heal as well as destroy, explained Lyra. It is an old gift used to protect our young from sickness. Jake's eyes opened slowly. His breathing was labored, but he was alive. Did it work? He asked weakly. Lisa looked around the chamber with tears in her eyes. Almost all of the eggs were now healthy and glowing. The parasite crystals had dissolved into harmless powder, and the ancient dragon crystals were shining with their natural blue light. It worked, she said. The eggs are saved. Amy's voice came through the radio with more good news. Captain, I'm getting reports from all the other dragon caves. The coordinated pulse worked across the entire planet. The parasite is gone. But their celebration was interrupted by a new sound. Crack. One of the healthy eggs was beginning to hatch. The treatment didn't just cure the infection, said Dr. Rodriguez in amazement. It accelerated the natural development process. A small golden head poked out of the cracked shell, followed by tiny wings and a long tail. The first dragon baby born on the planet in over 50 years looked around with bright, curious eyes. It saw Lisa first and made a small chirping sound, as if saying hello. Hello there, little one, Lisa whispered, reaching out carefully to touch. The baby dragon's snout. More eggs began to crack. The dragons were finally coming home. 3 weeks after the great cure, Captain Jake Morrison stood in the main dragon cave watching something he had never imagined possible. Dozens of baby dragons played together in the warm crystal light, their scales shining like tiny rainbows. Some were golden like the first hatchling, others were silver, blue, or deep green. They're beautiful, said Dr. Lisa Chun, who was sitting nearby with the first baby dragon curled up in her lap like a cat. The little dragon had bonded with her immediately after hatching and refused to leave her side. What will you call him? Asked Jake. The dragons don't use names the same way we do, explained Lisa. But Zara suggested I call him Hope because he represents the future of their species. Hope chirped happily and nuzzled Lisa's hand with his small snout. His eyes were bright and intelligent, already showing the wisdom that all dragons seemed to possess. Zara, approached them with slow, careful steps. The great dragon had been different since the eggs began hatching. She seemed lighter, happier, as if a terrible weight had been lifted from her shoulders. "Lisa of the humans," Zara said in her musical voice, "my people wish to speak with your people about the future." "What kind of future?" asked Jake. "A future where dragons and humans work together among the stars," replied another voice. Jake turned to see Draven, the elder dragon, approaching with several other adult dragons. They had arrived from caves across the planet as news of the successful cure spread. "We have watched your species through your actions here," continued Draven. "You came to a strange world to help creatures you had never seen before. You risked your lives to save our children. This tells us much about who you are." "We did what anyone would do," said Jake. "No," said a silver dragon named Siren. "Many species would have taken samples and left. Others would have demanded payment for their help. But you asked for nothing except the chance to save our young." Dr. Rodriguez and Kate Sullivan joined the conversation, along with the rest of Jake's crew. They had spent the last 3 weeks helping to care for the baby dragons and learning about dragon culture. "Your people have much to teach us," said Amy Foster. "Your crystal technology is centuries ahead of anything we've developed." "And your people have gifts we lack," replied Lyra, the ancient dragon. "You solve problems in ways we never considered. You adapt quickly to new situations. You never give up when others need help." Draven moved closer to the group. "We propose an alliance. Dragons and humans, working together to explore the galaxy and help other species in need." Jake felt excitement building in his chest. "What kind of alliance?" "We know of many worlds where intelligent species face extinction or terrible dangers," explained Zara. "Pirates attack peaceful planets. Diseases spread unchecked. Natural disasters destroy entire civilizations. Together, we could help them." "The dragons have the knowledge and technology," added Siren. "Humans have the creativity and determination. Combined, we could accomplish things neither species could do alone." Chief Engineer Ryan Walsh, who had been listening quietly, spoke. "Up, your crystal technology could revolutionize human space travel. We could build ships that travel faster and farther than ever before. And human medical knowledge could help us prevent future disasters like the parasite infection," said Lyra. Over the following days, the dragons and humans worked together to plan their new partnership. The dragons shared their advanced knowledge of space travel, showing the humans how to build ships powered by living crystals that could cross vast distances in days instead of months. In return, the humans taught the dragons about human medicine, engineering, and scientific methods. Dr. Lisa Chun established the first joint research facility, where dragon and human scientists could work side by side. The baby dragons grew quickly, learning from both their dragon parents and their human friends. Hope spent most of his time with Lisa, but he also played with the other human crew members. He seemed especially fond of Kate Sullivan, who had designed special toys that helped develop his flying skills. "He's going to be a natural pilot," said Danny O'Connor, watching Hope navigate through an obstacle course that Kate had built. "All the babies are incredibly smart," added Amy Foster. "They're learning human language as fast as they're learning dragon communication." 1 month after the cure, Jake received a message from Earth. The human government wanted to send a diplomatic mission to establish formal relations with the dragons. But Jake had a different idea. "What if we don't wait for Earth to come to us?" He suggested to his crew. "What if we take some of the dragons back with us?" "A cultural exchange program," said Lisa excitedly. "Dragons could study on Earth while humans come here to learn dragon technology." Zara and the other adult dragons loved the idea. They selected 3 young adult dragons to accompany the New Horizon back to human space. In return, a team of human scientists and engineers would remain on Dracoris Prime to continue the research partnership. The day of departure was both sad and exciting. Hope had grown large enough to fly short distances, but he was still too young to leave his home world. He chirped sadly as Lisa prepared to board the ship. "I'll come back," Lisa promised, stroking his golden scales. "And when you're older, maybe you can visit Earth too." Zara approached them. "Hope will be well cared for. And Lisa, you will always be welcome here. You saved our children, and we will never forget that gift." The 3 dragons who were traveling to Earth were named Ember, Storm, and Sage. They were young but experienced, chosen for their ability to adapt to new situations. They had spent weeks preparing for life among humans, learning about Earth culture and technology. "We are honored to represent our people," said Ember, whose scales were deep red with gold edges. "We hope to learn much from your world." As the New Horizon prepared to leave Dracoris Prime, Jake looked back at the planet that had changed everything. What had started as a routine mineral survey had become the beginning of a new era for both species. "Course plotted for Earth," reported Danny O'Connor from the pilot's station. "Take us home," said Jake. But as the ship lifted off from the planet's surface, Jake realized that home was no longer just Earth. Home was wherever humans and dragons worked, together to help others and explore the unknown. The journey back to Earth took only 3 days using the new crystal drive technology that the dragons had helped them install. The ship moved through space faster than any human vessel had ever traveled, powered by living crystals that sang with harmonic energy. When they arrived in Earth's solar system, they were met by a fleet of human ships eager to greet their new allies. The dragons fascinated everyone who saw them, but they also impressed people with their wisdom and kindness. Within a year, the Human-Dragon Alliance had established bases on 12 different worlds. Joint crews of humans and dragons traveled the galaxy, responding to distress calls and offering help to species in need. Dr. Lisa Chan became the first human ambassador to the dragons, splitting her time between Earth and Dracoris Prime. Every time she returned to the dragon world, Hope was there waiting for her, now large enough to fly her around the crystal caves. Captain Jake Morrison was promoted to Admiral and given command of the new joint fleet. His flagship was called the Terra Drake, a ship designed using both human engineering and dragon crystal technology. On the bridge of the Terra Drake, human and dragon crew members worked side by side. The ship's computer could translate between dozens of languages, and the crystal core provided power that seemed almost unlimited. "Admiral," said his communications officer, "we're receiving a distress call from the Vega system. A plague is wiping out the population of the 3rd planet." Jake looked at his crew, both human and dragon, and felt the same determination he had felt in that cave on Dracoris Prime. "Set course for Vega," he ordered. "Let's go help them." As the Terra Drake jumped to faster-than-light speed, Jake thought about how a simple mission to find minerals had led to something so much greater. The dragons had been right about humans. When others needed help, humans never gave up. And now, with dragons as their partners, they never had to face the unknown alone.